going through the potential big name free agents from Malcolm Butler at cornerback, Allen Robinson, not going back to Jacksonville by all accounts unless they could work something out very quickly. Allen Robinson going to be out there on the market, a guy whose high-end seasons was just incredible. His high-end season was really incredible, but battling injuries. I mean, where does Robinson land? What do you think his market looks like?
Well, Robinson, I think he's interesting. I'm not 100% surprised that the Giants decided to move on. One, they did pretty well this year when they were forced lower down to the depth chart at wide receiver. And two, we're now talking 2 seasons since we saw a good Allen Robinson.
But he was so good in
2015. But he was bad the next year, and then he tore his ACL after like 3 snaps or something this year. So it's a long time since we've seen the best of Allen Robinson. The thing that really works in his favor at the moment, though, is that this is such a crappy year for wide receivers on the free agent market. He is by far and away the number one guy. Jarvis Landry was potentially the only other decent guy, and even he is a very different type of receiver, and he got tagged, and he's a trade candidate now. But Robinson is really the only guy in that list that you think has number one wide receiver potential, the guy that can come in and be your star receiver. Other than that, it's guys like Sammy Watkins, who at this point we're pretty sure does not have that capability.
He's still young. Watkins still young.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen Robinson truly be that number one. Watkins high end, we've seen him as a good deep threat. We've seen Allen Robinson do it all over the field.
Here's a question for Allen Robinson, though. His shtick, both throughout college and the NFL, is I am so good that I can make terrible quarterbacks look great. You just put the ball in the air and I'll go get it.
Hackenberg, Bortles.
Exactly. Does he suddenly just break down if you go and give him a good quarterback who puts the ball where it should be? Does he just forget how to play? I don't know what to do with this perfect pass in my hands deep down the field. I'm going to need you to put it back here up in the air so that I can go win a jump ball and do something special.
Get him some Josh Allen in his life or some Lamar Jackson. Get him some inaccurate quarterbacks in his life.
There you go.
That's it. That's the package deal. You and I did a video a few weeks back saying Allen Robinson, Bears.
Yeah.
Could be this great fit. And
still makes a lot of sense.
Does make a lot of sense. Trubisky's a better quarterback, we think, than Hackenberg and some of those other guys. So maybe it won't really work, but that'd be the Bears are starting from scratch when it comes to playmakers, and that'd be a great place to start.
Trubisky still puts the ball in harm's way yet. There'll be plenty of passes for Robinson to fix.
Good. That's all we need.
Yeah.
What else we have here? Malcolm Butler. Got a feel for his market and what he is. As he hits the open market, a guy that's played a ton of man coverage. I think he's got a pretty good feel for the game, fundamentally sound, but really, lost favor in New England.
Yeah, coming off an ugly season and obviously that train wreck of a Super Bowl where he was essentially sat down and only saw 1 snap of special teams. The cornerback market, I think, generally is pretty interesting because you've got Butler. You've got a few really fascinating names that are all. This is a. Generally speaking, this is a terrible free agent crop. There are some good players in there.
We're going to do a whole show on it, but it's a bad crop.
but it's bad. There isn't a huge amount of depth or star power across any of these positions. There aren't multiple top quality starters at almost any position that you're going to be happy with. So the cornerback group has some really interesting names, but each of them has warts. They have flaws. You've got Butler, who's coming off that terrible year and being benched in the Super Bowl. Tremaine Johnson, who has the size and length that NFL teams want right now. He's 6'2", 210 pounds.
Somebody will overpay for him.
Yeah, probably. And he may be better in a different scheme. You put him in that Seahawks kind of system where he gets to pretend to be Richard Sherman. I think you see a better player than we've seen. A guy like Rashaan Melvin, who played like an all-pro for like half the season out of nowhere before getting injured and going down hurt. That's another pretty interesting name. Patrick Robinson, one of our stars of this season, who we were amazed at coming out of nowhere. If teams,
keys to the Eagles' Super Bowl run and everything.
If we assume that was being moved to the slot, he becomes the best slot option at cornerback and could potentially be a very good player. There's a lot of fun guys there.
What about Prince Amukamara, who just seems to sign one-year deals all over the place? 79, 79.5, 81.2, all solid PFF grades. He's just good.
That's what he is.
Just solid.
He is solid.
But that's a pretty good, like, if you don't want to break the bank for Tremaine Johnson,
and
you're not going to break the bank for Malcolm Butler, seems like Amukamara can be happy.
If you're a team that desperately needs to fix their number 2 corner problem, You know, you've got one starter who you're happy with. You just can't find a second guy that can be anything other than a liability and a disaster. Amukamara is a perfect fit for that. He can come in, be your second corner, and be fine.
Did you write the overview in the free agent guide?
I don't even remember.
Amukamara is a solid player. It was the first line.
It's what he is.
There's no better way to describe Amukamara than solid.
The problem he has, though, is he's also oft injured, which doesn't
Correct.
help the desirability. But the other thing that's working against him is that he's a former first-round pick. And when you get a guy in the first round who it turns out is just sort of average, I think that always works against those guys.
Once feels like a bust or whatever, but he's always been
once people figure out that they're average, as opposed to linemen who, you know, for some reason you can go for a long time before people work out.
Because you could just judge them by starts.
Yeah.
Started 16 games.
So I think that works against him.
So
But
you made the point that there's a lot of positions that just don't have any depth, and offensive tackle is one of those places. So
no depth.
The poor NFL that has an
tackle
offensive tackle problem, right? An offensive line problem in general. And every single show I've done, every time I've had to do radio and a team needs a tackle, I'm like, you know, there's Nate Solder.
The end.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And even Nate Solder, he's had his ups and downs, and he ultimately lands as a, you know, solid NFL offensive tackle who's a better run blocker than he is pass blocker, which is scary. Again, you want a guy that can pass protect better. So Solder's a solid option. I don't know if New England's going to make a huge attempt to bring him back. There's some rumors about him maybe landing in Houston, reuniting with Bill O'Brien. But I don't know what else you do at the tackle position if you don't get Solder.
Yeah, nothing. There's no other options there. You've got the rest of the guys available. You've got Ty Nsekhe from Washington, who struggled extensively when he was thrust in as a starter.
Solid backup guy.
Yeah. Who else is a potential free? Chris Hubbard from Pittsburgh again.
Cameron Fleming from New England.
Yeah,
as well.
You're talking about guys that came in as backups, did okay in spot duty, starting at right tackle. You basically have no shot at left tackle if you don't get Solder.
Any other guys? I mean, so at guard, it's not a flashy position. Andrew Norwell at guard has had 4 excellent years for Carolina.
I'm going to need to know what the beat writers say about him.
Oh man, that's such an inside joke our listeners don't understand, and I don't even want to make them go find out because that would give people
realize how petty we are.
Yeah, too many listens. So we're not even going to get into the Andrew Norwell.
Okay, Andrew Norwell though, All-Pro caliber guard.
All-Pro, PFF All-Pro.
Yeah, regardless of whether people have heard of him that much.
Yeah, people essentially trashed us for making him an All-Pro because they hadn't heard much about him.
Yeah. And because the Panthers beat writers weren't waxing lyrical about him on a weekly basis.
What about a couple former Giants offensive linemen, Justin Pugh, Weston Richburg, both guys coming off injury. Pugh's an interesting name because of some positional versatility. We're talking about how bad the tackle class is. He's been solid at right tackle, pretty good at guard as well. And then Richburg, you know, maybe the best center in the class, but also coming off of injury as well. So the Giants have all of these offensive line woes, and they've got 2 of the top graded offensive linemen on the free agent market.
Kind of strange now that you mention it. Pugh's one of these guys that's always flattered to deceive a little bit, I think. He always looks a lot. You think he's going to be a lot better over an extended period of time that he ends up grading. You know, he'll have this run of a few really good games, look like a dominant player, and then it just seems to fall off and go by the wayside over the course of the year.
Right.
So initially I thought that this guy was, you know, reasonable right tackle, and then you kicked him inside to guard, and he could be a really, really good guard. But it never actually quite happened. I think he might just be a guy that is solid/good at both spots, strangely.
Everybody just seems to be solid.
Yeah, he's fine at right tackle. He's fine at right guard, maybe a little bit better, but not going to be amazing at either spot.
All right, let's finish up here because we're running out of fodder when it comes to the free agent guys here. I think this is why there's been so many trades. The NFL has essentially looked at this free agent class and said,
oh, hell no.
No, we're going to have to be creative with some trades. We're going to have to focus on the draft. Any names that stick out at you for you that could be potential home run hits? Is it Eric Reed at safety, who's currently in the 30s or 40s in our free agent rankings? Is it Dante Moncrief? Could he have a breakout type of season? My boy Bradley McDougald. Bradley McDougald?
Yeah, you do like him.
At safety?
So.
Is there a name? Just give me somebody that.
This is ridiculous in that we're talking Sam Bradford at tight end, but Tyler Eifert.
Oh,
Tyler
yes.
Eifert is potentially one of the league's great mismatch weapons at tight end if you can keep him on the field. And that is seeming like a more and more ridiculous if as the years go by. But you sign him to a cheap, moderate deal. Somehow you catch lightning in a bottle and he doesn't break something over the next year or two. You have a mismatch weapon few teams can deal with.
The year that he was healthy, 2015, that's the season that I always reference. That was like Andy Dalton's peak statistical season where Eifert's on the field, A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and that's a good group of playmakers that are elevating the quarterback. If he could stay healthy, man, he could stretch the field. He could do it all. I would love to see a nice, healthy season from him. I think he's worth the gamble.
Couple of other, Le'Veon Bell obviously is potentially going to hit the market.
Correct.
I think there's a half decent chance that does happen, and then his contract becomes really interesting because he is basically as good as it gets and as complete a player as it gets. As much as a running back really can impact an offense, how much is that worth? That's the question the NFL is going to get posed.
And you're honestly going to, probably be guaranteed 2 really good years out of him, and then you have to worry about, does he decline or does he continue to, stay at a high level?
I'm really interested to see if, for as much a one-year wonder as Case Keenum was, Jerick McKinnon in the same backfield is kind of the same thing. He'd always flashed the ability to make plays, but this season he was good across the board at everything, and we didn't really see that from him before. Can he do that?
Was that more opportunity-driven, or do you think it just kind of...
No, I think he was just better across the board at everything he did. He's going to hit free agency. I think he wants to be a primary ball carrier in an offense. I'm curious to see if he can replicate that form on a bigger scale for somebody next year.
The one other name, I wouldn't spend a ton of money for him, but if you put him in if you pair him with another running back that can do some of the pass game stuff, Carlos Hyde, one of my favorite nuggets from the draft guide, worst pass blocking. He gave it the most hurries out of any running back in the NFL and had the most drops out of any running back in the NFL. So pass game grade was not good for Hyde last year, but he can run the ball pretty well.
I've got another one for you. This is a terrible edge rusher group. We assume that DeMarcus Lawrence is going to get tagged, though they haven't actually done it yet, I don't think.
Not officially official.
But he is the only real quality edge rusher available on the market, or was before they tag him. Junior Gillette, though, is under 30 years old, is coming off, well, not coming off, but had 2 back-to-back Achilles injuries, which tend to be like death for explosive pass rushers. That's the one thing that just destroys those guys. He came off 2 of them back-to-back and actually played really well last season. Only had 3 sacks, but had 9 hits, 25 QB hurries, all in under 410 snaps on defense. If you give him another year removed from those Achilles injuries, he may be the best pure edge rusher on this market, legitimately.
No, that's a high upside. Are we allowed to say upside now that Mike's gone?
No, my other Mike is going to beep it out for us.
Bleep that right out. That's another high upside potential rusher. If you can get him at the right price, that'd be great. I'm looking at the draft guide, though. I'm sorry, the free agent guide, Sam. Junior Gillette's pass rush productivity last year was just behind Barkevius Mingo in this free agent
How
class.
many times did Barkevius Mingo rush the passer?
He had 21 pressures on 61, 131 snaps.
Yeah. No.
This is the breakout season for Mingo. He's a free agent. This is his year. I loved him coming out of college. I was wrong. Poor Mingo. This is the year. No, Gillette's really a good call, though, because he had a quietly very good season last year.
And in a class where there's just no quality pass rushing option, that could be a steal for a team that gets the right kind of deal.
Agreed. I think we've exhausted
the free agent group.
All of them.
Yeah.
If you guys want more information, you're going to go grab PFF Edge or PFF Elite. When you do that, you get our free agent guide, which is only a small fraction of what you get because you're going to get our draft guide, which is already out, version 1. You're going to get the QB annual. You're going to get player grades. And if you have Elite, well, we're probably going to throw a party for you. You get to do whatever you want if you're part of the Elite group. But you get premium stats, which is the greatest football product on the market. It's back. Premium stats, all part of PFF Elite. So go ahead and check it out.
Back and being upgraded over the course of this offseason. Premium 2.0.
In all honesty, it looks like it's been made in 2005.
Because it was.
Right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it will soon look like it was made in 2018.
And have more fancy, shiny things on it.
Yes. And with the 0 to 100 grades and all of the cool stuff, you get game-by-game stuff. You get career stuff. It goes all the way back to 2006, plus a few Easter egg Super Bowls if you guys look hard enough. So go ahead and check it out. Stay with us all during free agency week. Sam and I are going to be commenting on every single pick over at ProFootballFocus.com, and we'll have another podcast for you early next week. Everybody, have a good one.